It's okay for me to get started. Great. I call to order the Personnel Committee on November 9th, 2022 at 4:04 p.m. We have a quorum with myself and Alder Radafrada. First item of business is approval of minutes, approval of the September 28, 2022 Personnel Committee minutes. Is there any discussion or changes?
Nope.
Great. I have nothing as well. So we can go ahead and vote. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 3, public appearances for non-agenda items. Is there anybody in chambers?
Yeah, we do have one person. We have a police officer, Logan Enke, and he has been invited here to share some really great things that the police department is doing. I got a chance to meet with him just the other day, and he was sharing not only a mentorship program, but also some cool things that they're doing for recognition. And it's just neat to hear that some of our departments are doing things at the department level that I think that the personnel committee would be kind of interested in learning. So Logan, do you mind coming up here and sharing? You can sit right there. Yeah.
Just go whenever.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Hey, so yeah, the first thing I'll talk about is our monthly wellness bulletin that we started back in August. I have the paper copies. Sorry, I didn't send any digital copies out for your viewing, but I'm more than happy to provide these to Sarah if you guys would like to take a look at these. Essentially, it's broken down into 5 different sections. So we have service anniversaries, department member birthdays, a monthly wellness challenge, and shout-outs, and then an update or news from our peer support team. And kind of the cool thing for me, or at least to show the success of these bulletins, is the first month we had 5 shout-outs, and how the shout-outs work. I send out an email at the end or towards the end of every month just saying, hey, if you'd like to recognize an employee, it doesn't have to just be an officer. It can be one of our records staff. It can be a dispatcher or any of our administration. And then people just send me, hey, this person did this, and then they just get recognized on the shout-out thing. So again, the first month we had 5 shout-outs, and then I'm pulling up November's here, and I only had room to put service anniversaries and department member birthdays in addition to shout-outs. And just a quick glance here, looks like we had about 18 or 20 shout-outs in the 4th month that we've been doing this. So again, just something that I kind of started in the police department to recognize employees. In the police department, it's important, just like any other city department, but because of the schedule that we work and the hours that we work, you don't always get to see other department members. So this is a great way, especially for me who works nights, to come in and see, oh, this is what the detectives did, this is what day shift did, this is what second shift did, that I may not be aware of. And then, wellness challenge, so just to kind of give you an idea, might be like 30 minutes of consistent walking, attending our annual wellness day that we have a partnership with Healthy Minds. On the September one, there's a QR code here for a 20-minute meditation session that people can do. So yeah, all around it's been very well received by department members. And then kind of the goal, or one of the goals of this, is we have an annual award ceremony every year. So it would be to send out, if nominations are due for department awards in October, the end of September, we would send out all the bulletins that have been put out throughout the year. So if somebody sees a shout out, it kind of refreshes their recollection to be like, oh, I nominated Sarah for something. And I think that actually rises to a level that would be up for nomination for an award. Again, just to kind of recognize all the great things that members of our police department are doing. Do you guys have any questions? I don't know.
You mentioned the mentorship program too,
Sure.
the informal. One of the goals of the HR department was to roll out a mentorship program to city employees. And in talking with Logan, he's already started doing this in the PD. It was really interesting to learn from him. So I just wanted to kind of share and wanted you to share just a little bit about that.
Sure. So a couple months ago, we started our mentorship program. And kind of the layout of it is anybody in the department is allowed to be a mentor as long as you're not a supervisor or a field trainer. And the obvious reason for that is we don't want there to be any hesitancy from the new employee to share concerns they're having or, deficiencies in their training or areas that they may want additional training. So yeah, anybody's allowed to be a mentor. We currently have, I think, 9 mentors. We only have 1 officer that's in the academy that has a current mentor partnership. When they're in the academy, obviously we've been sending people to Fox Valley, which is a couple hours away, so it's even more important to have that person that they can reach out to, they can text or they can call, whether it's dealing with questions about equipment or our policies or just general kind of, we talked about this in the academy, and I'm just curious, if you have any experience in that in Fitchburg, just again, to try to make them feel more welcome and comfortable in the department. And then, so when they're in the academy, we have bi-weekly check-ins, so it's very informal, just a text message, or call, whatever they're comfortable with. And then once they're back at the police department in their field training, it's set up to have weekly check-ins with that employee. And then eventually what I'd like to see the program work into is every year we have kind of a mentorship luncheon or something like that, so all the mentors and all the mentees can get together, again, just to kind of increase that fellowship in the police department.
And you let them choose their mentor too. So you have it's anonymous, but you have a paragraph about each potential mentor, and then the mentees can read about them and choose someone that
Correct.
resonates with them.
Yeah, so anybody can be the mentor, and then they submit, it's like a 5-question form, and then what we do is we provide that form to the new employee. The new employee reads it over, and then based on kind of everything they've read about the current employee, they select who they'd like as their mentor. We found that to be beneficial, and that's what some other departments actually use, because historically, I think it's kind of been like, oh, I was in the military, and you're in the military, so let's put them together because they have the military in common, versus this way, it kind of, again, sets the program up to hopefully have the best success by them getting to pick somebody that they feel the most comfortable with.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming out, Logan. Is there any discussion or questions from the committee?
I have a question. Logan, can you introduce yourself and let us know for... There? It's gone?
Could you repeat the question? I think
If you can introduce yourself, because I never seen you before, so for how long have you been working in the police department in Fitchburg? So,
Sure.
an idea.
So Logan Enke, I was hired in May of 2019, so I've been here about 3.5 years, and I've been on night shift since I've been here. So.
Oh, okay. So, nice to meet you, and thank you for everything that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Logan.
you bet.
Really appreciate it. It's just so inspirational to hear from employees that kind of take that initiative in their departments to run some really great recognition programs. So I thank you again, Logan.
That's great. So we can go ahead. There's no one else in chambers, is that correct?
Nope, no one else.
Great. So we can go ahead and move on to agenda items. Item 4. Item 4A, reclassification of accounting clerk 2, Kim Haig. Is that how you say your last name?
Haugie.
Haugie. Okay, thank you. So who's going to go first? Misty, Sarah?
Do we need a motion to approve first, or?
Oh, I will entertain a motion to reclassify the accounting clerk 2.
Okay.
Second.
Perfect. So this is, I have Misty here to talk about kind of her vision for the finance department, but this is a reclassification of a current accounting clerk 2, who is a full-time employee, who is currently in pay grade E, to a full-time payroll specialist, a brand new classification in pay grade G. So we did have an updated job description that we sent over to our consultant, Carlson Detman, and they provided a memo back. In the packet, you'll see the job description, all redlined, so you can see the changes that were made, and then the memo from Carlson Detman that proposes that that recommends that the position is put into that pay grade. So Misty, thank you for being here tonight, and I just wanted to kind of turn it over to you to explain a little bit more about the payroll specialist and then any new changes to your department.
Yeah, so first, payroll. I think a lot of people know what payroll is, right? That's paying the employees the wages that they're owed. Based on the personnel manual that you guys read updates to over time, and then also the 2 union contracts. And so I'd say the complexity of payroll is very deceiving. There's a lot of rules and a lot of nuances and a lot of just little pieces that all need to be kept track of in order to make sure that employees are being paid the appropriate amount in compliance with all of those policies. So there's a lot of really independent analysis of those different policies that we have there. And there's a lot of time spent not just making sure that checks are cut, but that it's done correctly and in compliance with those policies. I'm looking at them, making suggestions for how we could improve the policies to be clearer so that the intention through the policy is translated to those paychecks. And then just payroll is such an important, critical function of any organization because that's, the lifeblood of our organization is our employees, and we need to pay them correctly and on time and accurately in order to have a well-functioning group. So with the 2023 budget, we have just shy of 200 employees that are all paid through this one person. She does get support through me and through Sarah from kind of that policy interpretation piece. We do have a backup person that helps out Kim, but Kim really is that primary person that employees go to with questions or concerns, and it's her responsibility to make sure that things are done correctly. And those 200 FTEs are just the permanent full-time and part-time employees. We also have a lot of LTE staff, poll workers and paid on call employees and all of that. So the actual employee count is pretty significant. And over the last few years in particular, we've noticed that that's becoming more and more of a function of that position. And it's hard to do additional responsibilities on top of payroll. Basically, payroll on its own is nearly a full-time job with as large of a community that we are. So really appreciate the accountant that was supported through the 2023 budget. We're able to shift some things around. That position will pull off some of the things that payroll had done in the past. So that's those things that you see redlined off of there. Those will get moved either to the accountant or to other staff as we kind of shuffle things there. You'll see that job description in January once we're ready to go with that. But really the focus of today is reclassifying that payroll position. I'm really recognizing how much work and critical thinking and expertise is required for that position. And then from a pay perspective, I was getting that question. So to go from to the level G, which is what is recommended, this hiring range, so step 1 through 6, is $29.94 an hour to $34.22 an hour, which is about $62,000 to $71,000 as the hiring range. The city's policy is when there's a reclassification approved, there would be a 5% increase wherever they would fall in the steps there. So she would fall still within the steps of that new grade, even after that increase. And then her dated position would change. So future evaluations would be based off of this new date, if approved.
And assuming this passes today, when will this go into effect immediately or in the new year?
So it would be effective the start of the next pay period, which would be next Monday. There is a small additional cost for this year, which I can absorb through the waived disability premiums that are here for 2022. And then the increase was budgeted for 2023. So that cost is accounted for already.
Great. Any questions or comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you, Misty. I went through the position summary, and I want to ask you, you call the payroll specialist responsible for complex and critical accounting work. Can you add there like some payroll accounting work? Mention the word payroll accounting work because this person is going to be doing more like a payroll. I don't know. Because if I read that, I will say, it's an accounting work. Accounting could be payroll, could be AP, AR, a lot of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. We can add the word payroll in there.
The other thing that you mentioned here is that this person is going to be doing additional work like tax collection, purchasing, and cash handling. This is additional work beside the payroll.
Yes, so there are. Okay. Can I reply, Chair? Gabriella,
yes.
okay.
Oh, yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry. So yes, so there is, I mean, payroll is nearly a full-time job, but there are also times where we need all hands on deck, right? Especially property tax time and things like that. And she'll still be doing journal entries is the other big one that I'm going to have her continue to do. So it's not 100% payroll. There are some additional duties in there. And of course it has that other duties as assigned that all of our job descriptions have, but it will be very focused on payroll, and that would be the primary function of the job.
Okay. Another question, because who is going to be doing the annual? All of that.
Alder Rutherford, I think you cut out there. Could you repeat the question?
My internet is now.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Going through the description of the task in the job description is, my question is, the annual reports, the annual, report, yes, like preparing I-41, W-2, W-7, all of that. Is she's going to be doing that, or is another person processing those?
So right now it's primarily processed through the payroll provider. So Paylocity, the software does it. It would be her responsibility to make sure that they're accurate. But then I also want that accountant to be that double check on nearly everything that our department does. So we'll have another person verifying that the work was done correctly.
So, okay, so that one is part here. When you say prepare, review, and... Okay, now I want to be sure that, yeah. Okay, so that one were my questions.
Great. Anything else? So I think we can go ahead and take a vote on
one question.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I have. So you mentioned in the minimum qualification education, you're asking for a bachelor degree instead of an associate degree. What are you open to maybe to a person who has an associate degree with X amount of year of experience also to apply? You know what I mean?
Exactly. So it would be a bachelor's degree or the equivalent years of experience is allowed to.
And Julia, that's in the second bullet. So we do definitely have the additional experience may substitute for education on a year-for-year basis. Yep.
Okay.
Great. So I think we can go ahead and to a vote just with that friendly amendment to make a slight clarification on the description. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks so much, Misty. All right, so we can move on to item 4B, approval to add Juneteenth as a city observed holiday in the employee handbook. Is this a motion that needs to be?
Yep.
We need a motion. Okay, great.
You got it.
So move.
Go ahead.
All right. So we are really excited. So we have the Juneteenth and the bilingual incentive approved through the budget process. And so we are looking for approval to add Juneteenth as a city recognized holiday for 2023 and beyond. And then we would work with the unions to craft a MOU then so that it would be for all union employees as well. So this is for all staff. June 19th would be the city observed holiday. And really, that's the only thing that we'll need is just your approval to get that added to the employee handbook.
Question. Does it work similar to other holidays where if it falls on a Saturday, it's like moved to the Monday or the Friday?
I think it's the Friday before if it's on a Saturday, but I can't recall. But yes, it'll be the same. So it will definitely still always be recognized. Either the day or before or day after if it falls on a weekend. Yep.
Thank you.
Great, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have a question about process, okay? I think in the future, because we are approved the budget, so it means that if we approve the budget, we are already approved this. So my question is, maybe in the future when we want to, it should come to personnel committee before it go to budget or to other, you know what I mean? So I am confused about, we already approved this in the budget, so now we are approving, it's kind of like a symbolic approval, what we're doing here. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
what is the process here? You know what I mean?
Right, it's because I'm modifying the employee handbook, and so I'm so used to bringing all employee handbook updates to the personnel committee, but you're right, I mean, it was approved through the budget process, and I know that, I think the ERG, we talked about Juneteenth and the bilingual incentive, and those being two initiatives that we were hoping for 2023. So I'll have to talk with Chad more and figure out the best approval process so that, you know, but hopefully, I mean, I do believe that the personnel was notified earlier in the year that these were a couple of initiatives that the city was looking to do. But as for approval, you know, I can talk to Chad more about that, about what's the best process.
Great. I think this sounds great. I'm happy to hear that we're going to make it an official city holiday. So,
Yep.
are there any other comments or questions? All right. All those in favor of approving Juneteenth as a city observed holiday, say aye.
Aye.
Perfect.
Motion carries. So we can move on to agenda item 4C, review of operational and organizational review RFP. And is this a discussion item?
Yes, yep, just discussion, no approval needed. So included in the packet, we have the draft, not a draft, it's the final RFP for the organizational review and study. So we'll have a Zoom video conference call. It's like a pre-submittal video conference call for any vendors that are looking to have any questions that they want answered, and that will be on November 17th. So that's included. So if you look at your packet, you can see the full RFP, and I have sent it out to numerous agencies, hoping to get you know, some proposals for sure by December 1st. So hopefully December 1st we'll have a good list of people that are interested in helping us out. And you can see through this RFP kind of the project scope, you know, what we're looking for, the timeline. We do hope to have all of the results of the RFP, the org study, by July of 2023, and then we would bring it back to the personnel committee to present. And the vendor would be presenting to the personnel committee, and also there would be a public input participation piece in there. So we'll definitely, you can see there's a lot of information in here, so I just wanted to present this to the personnel and see if you had any questions about the RFP, and anything that you'd like for us to make sure we include that you don't see in here already.
And can I just clarify, was this, I don't recall, was this included in the 2023 budget, the 75,000?
Yes, yep.
Great.
This is actually a 2022 budget.
Oh, it's actually, Chad, just, it's the 2022 budget that it was included
wow.
in. So we'll be able to just bring that over to 2023.
Great.
Yeah, just to clarify, this was part of the TID closure ARPA investment plan, and then a budget amendment was done, I believe, in May that moved this and several other items that were identified as priorities through that process into the 2022 budget.
Awesome. Go ahead, Alder Freda.
So for Sarah, how do you select the vendors that you are sending this RFP? Are those vendors from diverse background, and they are locally here in Wisconsin? They are outside Wisconsin? I'm curious.
Yeah, so some of the bidders that I sent this out to are referrals from some others who have gone through this process. So I sent an email out to my entire network of HR professionals. And basically I got a list back of different places that they've utilized. I've actually helped them do or perform these organizational reviews. So that's where I got the list of who to send that out to. We can still send this out to more. So I'd be happy to share who we sent it out to if the personnel committee has any thoughts of additional companies or vendors that have done organizational reviews. And we posted it. Yes, thank you.
I'm curious to see. So there are more. How many do you send, and how many are locally, or Yeah, I'm curious. I don't know.
How many have I sent it out to?
Yes.
Oh, it's 10 or under. So it's not too many people that we've sent it out to, just to the organizations that I know have done these in the past. And it's posted as well. So where all RFPs are posted, that ours is out there. So for anyone that monitors those, that's out there.
But they're mostly local companies here in Wisconsin.
They're mostly local companies, yep. And they're, they specialize in different types of consulting and studies and compensation and human resources consulting. So they're different organizations that came with some good referrals.
So my other question is for the section the deliverables, okay? So what we are expecting in general, we are expecting like they are going to provide with some sort of plan of how we should be making future staffing decisions too, based on what? I don't know, I want to understand that part.
Yeah, so we do ask for recommendations. It's not on this page, but we do ask them for staffing recommendations, like a 3 to 5 year plan, as part of the results of what we receive.
Okay.
So yeah, ideally, we would like a plan of, of the departments that we have, what are we looking at for new staffing needs in the next 3 to 5 years, so that we can better map out when we need new positions.
My other question, can I do another?
Yes, please go ahead.
So are you including all the departments, including police and fire too?
All departments, including library, fire, police, yep.
Okay. Good. No.
We didn't want to leave anyone out for this one, for sure.
And Sarah and Chad, just for, looking forward, you expect that we'll probably get this done sometime next year. And then do you anticipate incorporating some of this potentially into the 2024 budget process? Or do you see this kind of as a longer term?
Both. So ideally, we'll have some short-term solutions that we can implement in 2024. But then for the long term, we hope to have a 3 to 5 year plan out on, what to expect for department structures and staffing needs. So it'll be twofold for sure.
Great.
And presented well in time before we have to get the 2024 budget. So that's why our goal is to have it completed by early July 2023.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love the idea of having that discussion prior to the 2024 budget.
Absolutely.
Great. Anything else? All right, so that's just the discussion item, so we can go ahead and move on to the next item. Item number 5, report from department.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of different things to highlight. So as you know, we have the bilingual incentive for 2023. So HR will be tasked with working on getting all of those tests completed. So if employee wants to test to make sure they're proficient to receive the bilingual incentive, we'll have to get that on the calendar and coordinate all of that. I want to give a department head recruitment update. So we have a city assessor vacancy and a director of public works. So we have city assessor interviews next week on the 17th. Really excited. We have 2 really qualified individuals that are in the process. We have our department head structures, interview days structured as a panel interview, and then they have a meet and greet with the department staff, and then a city tour. So we're trying to make the most of a day with each candidate and giving them as much exposure to city staff and learning more about Fitchburg. And then our Director of Public Works, we have 5 interviews scheduled for the end of, actually Thursday, December 1st. So that'll be the same structure. We'll have a 1-hour panel interview, a meet and greet with staff afterwards, and then a city tour. So I'm very excited to see, what comes out of these 2 recruitment processes. We have an interim city assessor, Scott Winter, who's here. So he's filling in as Amy just had her last day on Friday. And then Bill is here through December, and his last day is in January. And we still have Paul Woodard, who's stepped in as an interim as well. So we have some help and assistance during this time. He's a senior project engineer in the interim, so. So that's department head. I just want to throw that out there and see if you have any questions about those 2 recruitments. We have other employment opportunities too. Firefighter, career firefighter. We have our senior project engineer, engineering technician 2. We're looking for library shelvers. And we have a building and tenant, and then tax collection as well that we're looking for help with. So every week could be a little different. You just never know what we have posted. But we're getting applicants for many of our positions. The ones we really struggle with right now are engineers. Police officers, we've gone to a continuous police officer recruitment just because we're having a hard time getting a lot of applicants for that position. So basically how it works is we hold interviews when we have enough people to hold interviews for. And then they still go through all the same channels. They go through the chief interview, and then we take it to the Police and Fire Commission. But it's kind of nice to have that flexibility of a continuous recruitment where you can just keep on holding interviews continually as you get more applicants. And then I sent a invite to the council members, but we have our employee luncheon on December 15th, and we haven't had this in a couple of years due to COVID, and it's a great time to come together. All departments are invited, all employees, and we sit down, we have a warm meal, we go over milestone anniversaries, so people celebrating 5, 10, 15. We even have someone, a few with 25 years with the city. So it's great. I hope that council members can attend that, and again, that's on December 15th. And then a really great completion of a project. We have an administrative clerk in the HR department that helps a number of different departments. Well, she was able to help HR out with basically scanning in all of the paper personnel files into electronic format. So we are currently all electronic in the HR department, which is fabulous, and it was a huge undertaking. So a big thank you to Sarah and Amy for her assistance with that project. It's just amazing to think that we don't have paper personnel files. And then we're exploring some new benefits. We have a meeting next week with a company to learn about something called a healthcare reimbursement account. This type of account helps to pay for, it kind of bridges that gap between when you leave employment, when you retire, to when you become Medicare eligible. So we want to kind of look into what this HRA, how that works, how that might work for the city of Fitchburg, and see if that might be a benefit we could potentially offer employees. So more to come on that. If it's a new benefit that we want to put forth, we'll definitely bring it to the Personnel Committee. And then lastly, the paid parental leave that wasn't able to get implemented in the 2023 budget. Hopefully, it's definitely at the top of my desires for 2024. So even if it can just be 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 weeks was what I was hoping for at least. But I just want to let the Personnel Committee know it's still a priority, and that's something that we're hopefully going to be able to do in 2024.
Great.
Yeah. Any questions about anything HR related that you'd like an update on?
So I just wanted to say that I'm really happy that we have city assessor and public works director candidates. That's really delightful to hear that we have multiple people coming in for interviews. And I know you mentioned a lot of open positions. I know I just bringing up the transportation engineers, since we've been without somebody consistently in that position for such a long time. My understanding was that you were going to switch that position description to just a generic engineer.
Right. That's what the senior project engineer is. Yep. So we took down the transportation engineer a little bit. We reevaluated it. And then in the end, we decided, we could call this a senior project engineer. And we're going to try to do some more reach out. I think more targeted recruitment, reaching out to people maybe on LinkedIn that have those types of qualifications. We're posted all over the place. We're just not getting the interest in that position. We have the updated pay rate for 2023 up, but still we're not getting any interest in the position, unfortunately. So we're going to have to try some new strategies here. It's a very challenging position to recruit for.
Okay. Yeah, we just got a lot of big projects next year, so.
Yeah.
One of the techniques that other companies are doing to hire engineers is sometimes you need to contact some of the engineers, professor, or we have the university here, and maybe talk to them directly. Maybe because they can recommend you students that they are finishing, or they have, So this is how some of the big company, consulting engineer firm, petroleum engineers, company they do. To when they are recruiting people is to have a connection with the university, more like a direct connection, and then try to figure out how because when talking to professors or other people, they know exactly they have some students that they are who are those students that they want to work in the private sector, or any specific industry, and so kind of. I have seen that in the engineer department here at the university.
It's hard, because we're looking for someone with experience, but maybe that's what it comes down to. Maybe we need to look for someone that has education but doesn't have the years of experience, and look at providing that training on the job. So at some point, we'll have to really reevaluate. Maybe this isn't going to be the position to post. Maybe we need to take it down and really change the qualifications and make it something more people are qualified for. But that means they'll need more assistance on the job. With a small engineering team, that makes it a little difficult, but I hear you.
You're looking for a senior, yeah.
Right.
I have a question. Yeah, I have a couple. Okay. So you mentioned, Sarah, you're doing the interview for the city assessor and director of public work, and you mentioned that you have some panels, group of people. Who are those people in those? How do you select the people in the panel?
Yep.
Is the chair of the personnel committee will be part of those panel?
So typically we try to have at least one community member. We try to have a subject matter expert. So for example, someone who specializes in assessing definitely is going to be on the panel. So I'd hate to say who's on the panel right now, just because we typically don't share that with people who are interviewing ahead of time. But we try to have a community member. We try to have another department head. We try to have the immediate supervisor, which is Chad for department head level positions. And then of course that subject matter expert. So for example, if we're hiring for a public works director, we typically, if we don't have an interim in place, we'll reach out to another public works director at another similar size municipality. So that's kind of the makeup of the panels and why we choose who we choose. And we choose a department head that has a lot of interaction with that potential new person. And then the meet and greet has been kind of interesting and wonderful because the staff really get a chance to meet each candidate. They ask them at least a couple of core questions, and then they have a better idea of, how the candidates are, who they think would be the best fit with the group. So it's nice. It's been nice. We did this for the IT director, and it worked out really well. So we're looking forward to utilizing that again for these other two department head level positions. And then the city tour is just a nice end to the day for the candidates too.
When you have that informal meet and greet with the staff asking questions, how do you collect feedback from them?
Yep.
Do you have them part of the discussion panel at the end?
Yeah, so what we did with IT director last is Chad and I met with the IT team afterwards, and we talked with them. They had a couple of three core questions that they asked each panel or each candidate, and then so they had that. So you definitely want them to ask a couple of questions that are the same of each candidate so that they can get a better feel. And when you're comparing different candidates, it helps to have some type of foundation or core questions. So yeah, Chad and I then we met with the IT team to learn how they felt the candidates, the interview process went, and then they shared their feedback on each of the candidates. So it's a piece of why we select the person we select. It's the panel, it's even the people who will give the city tour. Their feedback is really important too, because they even see the candidate in an even more informal light, right? There's no interview questions. You're just riding along in a car, but you can really learn a lot about someone. Maybe they share. We always inform, stay away from personal questions. Don't ask, anything about your personal life. But they may share, things about what they're doing now. Why they're coming to Fitchburg, why Fitchburg interests them during the city tour. So all of these pieces are really important.
Great. Anything else from the committee? Go ahead.
Yeah, this is one final question. Maybe it's unrelated to all of it, but when you do the annual, the city does the annual performance evaluation for the employee. Sarah, do you use a specific application software, or is everything manual?
Yeah, no, we use NeoGov Perform. So it's a government-based system that's our same software for applicant tracking, the applications, and onboarding new employees. They have a module called Perform. So that's where all of we even have 360 feedback in there, and it works out really well. We have 360 feedback for all department heads. That was implemented last year.
I have one question about the paid parental leave. Switching to that, Do you know if other municipalities locally have paid parental leave? Would we be one of the first in the area to do that?
Oh, I wish. No, Sun Prairie has had it for a couple of years. Madison has had it for a few years. So we wouldn't be. But Verona doesn't. Middleton doesn't. I don't even believe Dane County does yet. So there's still many that don't have it yet. So we could still, kind of be leaders in that.
One of the ways to distinguish ourselves and potentially get people hired.
Exactly. It's an important benefit, and it's something that a lot of people are looking for. When we surveyed staff back in 2020, we did a benefit survey, and we had a number of employees that asked for paid parental leave. They said of all the benefits, that is something that they wish the city had.
Great.
And I think other companies that they are doing too for retention tool, if you're working for 10 years or 20, they also give you like a sabbatical, but sabbatical maybe could pay you like 2 weeks of vacation. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So some companies are doing that, or according to the cash flow. But this is something else. My question is, Sarah, have you run some of the preliminary numbers for how much it's going to cost for the 2024 budget if we want to do something like this?
Oh, so actually, I just asked Misty to crunch those numbers for me. Okay. So really, the numbers come into the overtime that the employees are going to have to take on if somebody. So, for example, in PD, if someone is out on paid parental leave for 6 weeks, then you've got the cost of the overtime that's causing for other employees to have to pick up their shifts. For some of our non-represented employees, it could be something that the other department employees could pick up without having to pick up overtime. We might have to hire an LTE. So that would be where the cost would be, is in the overtime or the hiring of LTE employees to fill in.
But do you have a number?
I don't have a number yet, no.
You don't have to share now. But
on average, we only have 10 or less employees that go out on paid parental leave, and that includes fathers who have babies. So it's very manageable. We have it hasn't been more than 10, and I did like a look back in the last 5 years. So it's we have about 275 employees if you count all of our paid on-call seasonal LTE. This would only be, paid parental leave would only be for permanent, part-time, permanent, full-time employees. So if you look at about 200 employees, you only have 10 or less that are going out on paid parental leave or having babies or adopting.
No, because if we really want to do it for next year, I think this is great. I think this committee should be, we should move forward with a resolution during, summertime before budget time. So we run it through our committee, and then, we have the numbers, and, we run the numbers, and we have an idea how many are coming, I'm sure there are some mathematical models that we can determine how many could be in this year, next year, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know.
I already have a draft policy and procedure, so I could always bring that to one of our next personnel committee meetings along with the numbers, just so that you have that. Okay. It would be well in advance. It'd be a January personnel committee meeting instead of, right before the budget time. But it's something that's already done. It's already ready to implement, assuming the policy is approved and there's no hiccups with that.
So why we didn't move it in the 2023 budget? Because of timing?
All of the money was to go to the pay plan update. So it wasn't part of the mayor's proposed budget. So it was part of my spiel at the beginning. I was hoping for 2023, but the most important thing was getting the employee pay increases implemented.
Okay.
Great. Sounds like there's nothing else. So, Sarah, is there any last thoughts or last things to add?
Yeah, just an announcement. So the city will be participating in Future Quest again this year. This is a really, really great event put on at the Lions Center, and it invites all Dane County middle school students to learn more about different careers. So there's a lot of different employers there, different types of jobs, and the rule is you have to have something hands-on for the kids to do when they're there. So we'll have police and fire and Fact TV representing the city of Fitchburg, and that's going to be on the 29th of November. So kind of exciting. We've done this for a few years. It was put on hold with COVID, but it's back up again this year in person. So it's a great event.
And is that where does that take place?
Alliance Center. So it's huge.
Alliance, okay.
Yep. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I have one thing I just wanted to mention too, announcements. I'm not going to be at the next council meeting, so would one of the, would Alder Rutherford or Alder Maldonado, would one of you give the report for personnel?
Mr. Vice Chair, Joe?
Yes, I can give the
Yeah.
report.
Okay.
Great. Just want to make sure we have that sorted. Is there anything else?
Nope.
Fabulous. So we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 4:49 p.m. Thanks so much.
Thank you.